I quit singing after I found out my best friend had taken their own life, but my brother refuses to acknowledge that and keeps pressuring me to sing at his wedding, and my mom is on his side. Posted by you/any_reality580. My 28M brother, 33M, will be getting married in the fall. The two of us are fairly close, especially in the past few years, which is to say that he is not ignorant of past events in my life. Recently, I was invited to dinner by him and his fiancée. The two were very obviously buttering me up to ask me something the whole time before my brother finally said, "So, fiancé and I have been talking, and we'd really love it if you sang our first dance song, just the one song. I know you don't really sing anymore, but I dug up some old videos of you singing, and she loves your voice just as much as I do. This could be your wedding present to us." For background, I used to sing all the time. I formed a band with a bunch of my friends in high school, and we had very minor success. We had a YouTube channel with a few hundred subscribers, and there were a handful of people who had their own recordings that were posted to their own pages. In this band was my best friend since second grade, Mason, not his real name. Unfortunately, when we were 17, Mason took his own life. Additionally, I was the one who found him. The band dissolved almost immediately, and our YouTube channel, along with all our own videos, was taken down. Since then, I have never sung. Singing without Mason felt wrong, so I didn't. Not in the shower, not at karaoke sessions, not at church, never. My brother knew all of this, but I wasn't sure if his fiancée did, so I started off with, "Sorry, I'll have to refuse. You know I don't sing anymore," in the interest of not totally ruining dinner. My brother was annoyed as hell at this. "Come on, it's for my wedding, it's just one song. I'm not asking for much here," and so forth. I continued to politely refuse and left soon after. Shortly after, I started receiving countless calls from my mom, who also knows the reason why and decided to harass me about not singing. "It's your brother's wedding. I think you really should see a therapist about this. We all love your singing voice, and it's been 10 years since any of us got to hear it." The two have since decided on a new tactic, saying that my song would be a good way to honor Mason's memory. The point about therapy aside, I've been to lots of it. I'm at peace with my decision to stop singing. Am I the jerk for refusing? It's clearly important to them. Edit. Okay, this is pretty overwhelming. 1. I don't know if my future sister-in-law is aware of the full situation or not. I'd like to think she isn't, but I'd rather not poke that hornet's nest until I have to. 2. Yes, I've been to therapy. Singing is something I did with Mason well before we started a full band. It very much feels like a part of my life that belongs in the past. I have really only ever performed with Mason. The joy I got from performing was not the act of singing itself, but from performing with my best friend. 3. Is that what Mason would have wanted? I don't know. He's not around to ask anymore. 4. The extended family is not blowing up my phone. It's 2 people, and it's not blowing it up. My mom called repeatedly in one day and has tried to bring it up a few times since. My brother is mostly giving me the cold shoulder. It's only been a few weeks since this conversation took place. 5. To whoever said, "It's been 10 years, you're not good enough to sing at a wedding, thank you." I genuinely laughed at this. It's a good point too, I'd probably sound like a donkey got kicked in the throat. 6. No, I don't post a lot. This is a throwaway I barely use. Update 18 days later. Okay, I don't know if I have to do anything special to update people who commented update me on the last post, but here we are. This is premature, but since the post I made was more popular than I expected, or wanted, I thought I'd give a small update. My future sister-in-law reached out to me because her washer broke, and she wanted to come over and do a quick load of laundry. I wasn't thrilled about this, but I live close enough, I have in-unit laundry, and the laundromats in our area are not the safest. I was content to just watch TV silently in my tiny apartment while we waited, but she, of course, had something to discuss. I thought for sure she'd be the third person to try to convince me, but no. Instead, she told me that she wasn't sure if my brother was giving her the full story. She said, in his words, he used to sing all the time. He was in a band, but he quit when the band broke up, which is technically true, but come on. I also learned that he had told many of his friends the same thing, about how he's always trying to convince me to come around and sing for all of them. He had literally never asked before the conversation but was prone to making comments like, "Boy, it sure sucks you don't sing anymore." I know a lot of people who would want to hear that. So, I very briefly told her about Mason. Just the important bits. That I used to sing with him, then he died, so I don't have any desire to do so anymore. She didn't say anything for a while, but I saw her face go through about a dozen different emotions, and I'm pretty sure she settled on anger. Before she left, she just told me that she's going to tell my brother to get someone else to sing. I got the distinct feeling that it's not going to be a pleasant conversation. So, that's it so far. All quiet. Fingers crossed. Relevant comments. Commenter. Sister-in-law is awesome. As an internet stranger, I strongly recommend therapy. And do you think Mason would want you to quit singing entirely? I highly doubt that. Ops response. I guess I could try breaking out the Ouija board to ask him, but I've never had much luck. Op adds an edit to his post. Again, the response to this has been much larger than anticipated. I just need to get something off my chest, and hopefully, I don't come across as overly aggressive. Regarding the obnoxious comment saying, "Is that what Mason would want?" I don't know, he's not around to ask anymore. The dead tend not to have opinions. I've had over a decade to process this. Via therapy, putting it in all caps this time. But I truly hope the people who comment this don't ever try this approach on someone who has just experienced a loss. Regardless of intentions, it is grossly manipulative. And again, for the people in the back, I didn't stop singing because I thought that's what Mason would want, or because of survivor's guilt, or because I was actually secretly in love with him. Yes, a real DM I received. I stopped because I loved singing with my musical partner, who is now gone. I no longer find the act enjoyable. Second update 1 month later. I was told that people prefer linking the original post in updates. Hope that works. I cannot believe this is still a thing, let alone something people are interested in. Lucky me, though, because the overwhelming support I received here convinced me to do some things I definitely wouldn't have done otherwise. New things happened pretty quickly, but I held off on a new post because my last one was premature. Some things people predicted happened, others did not. Let's get this out of the way up front, the wedding is still on. The wedding will always still be on. This was never in doubt. I think a lot of commenters vastly overestimated my importance. After talking with my future sister-in-law, I didn't hear anything from my brother, at least initially. I did eventually get a short text from her just saying that I shouldn't worry about the wedding anymore and that they'd find someone else. My mom was another story. She called me repeatedly since I ignored her first few calls, and when I finally picked up, she was about 2 steps below screaming into the phone. She ranted about how I interfered in my brother's relationship and made things so much harder for them, and, do you know how upset he is right now? It's time to put grudges aside and make amends. It was not an especially long conversation. I feel it's important to provide some context for my mom. I've seen some comments about how she clearly favors my brother. Strictly speaking, I'm not sure that's true. Over the years, she has said or done things to my brother that, at several points, caused him to go no contact with her. Some of these I fully understood, others raised some questions. As a result, my mom tends to overcompensate when it comes to him because I think she's terrified of getting cut off again. I did a lot of self-reflection over the next few days about my relationships with my family members and decided it was time to have a very honest conversation with my brother. I even booked a bonus therapy session specifically to prepare myself for this conversation. I called him up and asked him point blank if, knowing I will absolutely not be singing for him, he still wanted me to attend. He didn't answer for a bit, but eventually, he said yes. I remembered a bunch of comments suggesting he might still try to pull something at the reception by using public pressure and announcing me as the singer. While I personally didn't find that especially likely, my brother is a big planner/scheduler, I realized I no longer trusted him like I used to and said as much, adding that I would only be attending the ceremony, not the reception. He had a minor freak out over this, "Are you effing kidding me?" but then said it was whatever and that I needed to come up with a concrete excuse for my absence so that bullcrap doesn't overshadow everything. Fine, whatever. He also said I could no longer be his groomsman since that would leave an empty chair at the head table. We hung up shortly after. We have not spoken again since. Something that hasn't come up before, we both have 2 other brothers, 35M, 26M. Neither lives in the same area as us. My younger brother lives on the other side of the country, and we don't talk especially frequently, so I don't know what, if anything, they had heard about the situation previously. Well, because he kicked one of his brothers out of the wedding party, he decided to replace the other 2 as well since it wouldn't look right to have just 2 out of 3 of his brothers as groomsmen. So instead, he opted for 0 out of 3. Our eldest brother got kind of bratty about it. He included all 3 of us in his wedding party when he got married and is mainly pissed about the lack of reciprocation, but never asked for nor received the full story on our feud. I don't especially enjoy talking to him, so if he wants to blame me for getting booted from the wedding party, that's fine. My younger brother, on the other hand, made it his personal mission to extract every single detail possible from all parties. He called me up to get my side and then decided he was going to join me in skipping the reception. He has started brainstorming an excuse for both of us. Honestly, I think he was looking for an excuse not to go anyway. He despises family functions. At this point, I am praying for no more updates. This is just effing absurd. The wedding cannot come soon enough. This is not related to the update but rather to the comments/DMs I received. I have tried my best to be civil with the many comments like, "Is that what Mason would want?" or "Have you tried therapy?" We are now 3 posts deep into this nonsense. I'm not going to try so hard at civility anymore. Also, a reminder, singing was a hobby. I gave up a hobby. I was not on the cusp of making it big. I did not throw away my dreams. This was 5 dudes screwing around in a basement on weekends and occasionally playing at a bar, fair, or coffee shop. For what it's worth, I still listen to music and will even pick up my bass on occasion when I'm bored. Therapy is not an undo button for grief and trauma. I am not the same person I was before he died, and I never will be again. Therapy is about accepting this and the new person I've become, not going back to the way things were. New op model does not include singing. Relevant comments. Commenter. Therapy is not an undo button on grief and trauma. I feel like more people need to hear this. The comments on the post were flooded with people telling Op that he needs therapy and that there is clearly something going on, and then they got defensive when he told them there wasn't anything deeper happening, he just didn't want to sing anymore. Sometimes, you just don't want to do your hobbies because they remind you of the person you lost, and that's okay. Commenter 2. Op, your mom and brother suck so much that black holes appear when they're in the same room. This whole thing went way beyond singing. It's not that hard to respect someone's wishes. As a side note, since they want to burn everything down, I wouldn't bother coming up with a valid excuse. Just tell the truth, your mom and brother are insufferable jerks who want you to lie about why you're not there because they can't accept that you don't want to sing. They're going to rip you to shreds anyway, so let them wash their BS down with the truth. Tell that one blabbermouth in the family that you have to come up with a good excuse not to go to the ceremony. Tell everyone how your mom behaved toward you, which has nothing to do with the wedding. Honestly, they only want you there so people don't talk, not because they value you as a family member. I wouldn't go at all and would let them know well ahead of time. They chose this.